Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm back to the case studies. I'm handing over for the next 20 minutes to both of you. I'm going to go mute and leave this up to yourself and Tim, to take this forward. So back to you.
Well, Toni, you've got a few case studies down in Spain, I think, which you wanted to talk about.
Okay, he's a great one, especially with what's happening at the moment. Because when I was actually in Spain, we used to have a questionnaire, and we'd have the whole of the sales team just actually going through the questionnaire with the client. So as soon as a client arrived off the airplane, or they actually walked in off the street, the first thing that the salespeople would do they would look around and go, okay, I'm not going to get stuck here. Let me just go and find the questionnaire. And they were going to get the questionnaire. So after they've made the coffee and had a chat and started to build up some trust, because it's all about asking the clients what they need, they would actually just go through the questionnaire. And they would actually say, okay, now this is how people's thought process can change. So for example, when I first started in real estate in Spain, a client would walk in off the street, or they would fly in, and they would say, okay, this is my need. I want a 5-bedroom villa. It's got to have at least 5 bedrooms. It's got to have a large piece of land. It's got to have a swimming pool, and it's really got to be in the middle of nowhere. Because, I've got to fly my family over. They're going to come to see me. They're coming with their grandchildren. They come with the dogs, the cats, the chickens. And so they actually want to have some space. And as I'm taking down all of the information, okay, the next thing is, how much do you want to spend? Okay, we want to spend, £500,000, nothing more, nothing less. And we're taking down all of the information, and this would take around about 15 minutes. And as I flip the questionnaire over, which area do you want to be in? Do you want to be really in the middle of nowhere? And then I would just go through the whole of the questionnaire. The salespeople would go through the questionnaire, and then they would actually come back with the whole rationale thought process. Now in Spain, for example, we would actually say, great, I know what you think you need, but the reality is you're not going to be living there. You're not going to be living in Spain and living in the UK or living in Europe. This is actually going to be a holiday home, is it not? And as it's a holiday home, your family are not going to be living there all the time. And then secondly, as well, you're actually buying a holiday home, and you don't need your family there all the time because you're backwards and forwards. So from that questionnaire, we would actually get somebody coming with an interest for a 5-bedroom villa, and they would actually end up with a 3-bedroom flat off plan. Because I always used to say to all of the salespeople, always sell your favorites. Don't get pushed into selling something that you think the client automatically wants. And in Spain at that time, we had a beautiful 3-bedroom flat with beautiful views on the mountainside, and then we had a 2-bedroom flat on the beach side. And the client got one, they either got the 3-bedroom flat or they got the 2-bedroom flat on the beach side. And that was all off plan because they had a show flat, and the ironic situation that everybody doubled their money within 18 months. So we actually can go to heaven, and we sell something that we loved, and we didn't sell something that automatically the client wanted, but we did actually work down that new homes market. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Toni. I love what you said about selling what you love, because there's just an energy that comes with selling what you love. And it's important that as real estate professionals who are offering, real estate, to your clients, that you actually like what you're selling and go beyond liking it, actually love it. For you to actually build trust, it's important that you love what you are offering. And what does it mean to love? It means to believe. And part of the belief is because you've done the work of understanding the property. And that's why questions are your biggest gift your biggest resource tool in real estate. If you're going to be a champion, you've got to understand how to ask the right questions of every stakeholder in the process, of the developer that you're representing or the seller. You have to understand the property. Even if you're an in-house marketing team, understand what you're offering, understand who you're offering it to, and the why around it, so that you can create a match between the property and the right owner. Toni, thank you so much for that. Really just re-emphasizing on the issue of trust, which I think is so critical, and we cannot, we cannot belabor it, we can't overtalk it. It is at the heart and center of real estate, especially high-end real estate, and especially off-plan real estate, which is where yourself and Toni specialize. So I want us to talk about trust, and I want us to talk about psychology, right? So I'm coming right back to you. How do you build trust? Please go ahead.
Can you hear okay? Yep. When I actually started off in real estate, and bear in mind, I did run 100 salespeople, we had a process. And I'm sure perhaps most people know it because it's not my process. It's universal, it's global. And that's how to actually sell on one hand. And you basically start off with trust. Because if you haven't got trust, you can't go into stage number 2. So you have trust, and then you actually find out what the client's need is. What is your need? Why is your need? And then it's help. How are you going to help the client? Because you only sell in the box if it's off plan. So how are you going to help? Are you going to help with the mortgage, with the lawyers, with the whole process? So you've got trust, need, help, and then you can create the hurry. Because you can't create a hurry if you haven't got the trust, the need, and the help. Then you create the hurry. Do you want the 1 bedroom or the 2 bedroom, the second floor or the top floor? And then you go for the close. And so many real estate agents in the whole of the world go straight for the close, but there's no trust. So you need your trust first. So you've got trust, need, help, hurry, close. But then even when you've closed, you've got another one, which is actually button up, which is like a jacket. You button up the jacket because you have buyer's remorse, you have seller's remorse. And so you've got to make sure that that sale goes right away through, is in bed. And then that's where your referrals come from, because you've actually done the whole process. And then you can actually ask the question, do you have any friends or family or people that you know at work who would actually also like to buy this particular project, or would they like to buy it from you? Hope that helps.
Absolutely, absolutely. 5 very simple steps, which everyone ought to be familiar with, must be familiar with, if you're going to sell as a trusted advisor. If you're going to sell on the basis of trust, you have to start with trust. Trust, need, help, hurry, close. I love the button up in particular, especially for those who are selling new builds, which, almost everyone here in this masterclass is in that space. Closing is where most people go for. They want to sell, but you have no trust, you have no relationship, you have no information. You don't have knowledge. We like to say that for you to build trust, knowledge is important. The knowledge of the client, knowledge of the property, and knowledge of the market. Because if the market changes and you don't know, and your client knows, they may come back to you and question you about something, and you were not ahead of that particular information. And then your client now becomes a shaky client. They may end up concluding, but you cannot ask that client for a referral, because at some point trust was broken, because you were not ahead of the game, because you were not in tune with them. Thank you so much, Toni, for sharing that, and we will continue to deepen this conversation. Toni, back to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, having built up a big sales team, somebody taught me this, and that is, if you never tell a lie, you never remember what it was you said. We had a big sales team just following that same philosophy. And I could read the body language, I could see them thinking. And when the client would say, have you seen that property? No, I haven't. Because you can't, it's a lie. And that actually works every single time when it comes to everything. So even this catastrophe that you guys are having at the moment, if somebody actually says, do you know what's happened? If you do know what's happened, you can say you do. If you don't, then you've got to say, I don't know what's happened, but I will find out for you.
Amazing. Thank you, Tony. Thanks for sharing that. Honesty helps you stay positive, actually, because you don't know what happened. And even if you know what happened, you don't know the details. Someone sent me a message yesterday and said, oh my gosh, Abdul, have you seen, have you heard what happened? What exactly happened? And I said, I have no clue. I have no clue. I know exactly the same thing as you know what's in the papers and what's being circulated. And I personally have a policy that I don't circulate what I cannot verify, right? So I have no clue, so I don't know. And today it's now in the news and the official channels, and what you know based on the news, to that extent you can share, right? And you don't know everything. And sometimes a client wants something and you don't have it, you should be able to say you don't have it. Or what I have is not suitable for you. And that way you begin to build trust. So thank you for sharing that, Tony. What are your final thoughts in terms of, give us 3 top level advice that you would give to, an African real estate champion, that here, if you do this, you are an absolute champion. I'd like you to, wrap up with those, and then we'll take, some questions from the participants. Back to you.
Okay, I'll perhaps go first. Before I was actually in property, I was in IT, and it's very similar. So with property, it's not as difficult as you think. You're only selling a box. That's all you're selling is a box, a big box, a small box, very big box. So you need to sell everything except the box. You sell all the services and everything else that comes around the box, and the box is actually lost. And the other thing is, you guys are the experts. You will be a bigger expert than me. I've never been to Nigeria. Don't know where it is. I know where it is, but I've never been there. But I think, when you have a client, that's where the knowledge comes in. So you are dealing with an expert. So your product knowledge is the area that you want to focus on. Make sure you know exactly what it is about the box and where the box is and everything that's going around the box, so you actually can move forward from there. And then the last thing is actually transactions and making sure that you close every single sale. You've got to go for a close on every single sale. When I first started in real estate, I was actually closing 82% of anybody that I met. 82%. Now with the internet, I know for a fact we're nowhere near that, because clients, you don't know where they've come from, what they do when they're big buyers. So I think at the end of it in Spain, I had a team of 100 people, and we actually closed 25% of anybody with a pulse. And we maintained a 6% fee, over 3 years. And we were selling 300 to 500 units a month, any boxes, any shape, sizes. So I think that mark has not gone away. So today you're actually faced with a great opportunity, because transactions are actually moving a lot quicker. They're moving a lot quicker than they did in the old days. So that's my thought, rationale process.
Thank you so much, Tony. 3 excellent points for champions. Sell everything else but the box. Box is the last thing you sell. Secondly, be an expert. Have the knowledge about the box, everything about the box, everything around the box. Be knowledgeable. Thirdly, at the end of the day, if you haven't made a sale, it's all commentary. So Close the transactions. Go for the close, guys. Go for the close is what Tony's saying, right? And it's never been easier, to actually do that, because transactions are happening faster. People have seen sometimes before they come to you, and all of that's great stuff. Thank you so much, Tony, for those 3 lessons. And I'm going to open up for questions as we wrap this session up.
Thank you, Tim and Tony. I love your case studies. They're excellent. All right, so my question is this, especially for high-end properties, how do you, I know you've said some things around there, but how do you carefully and effectively do your customer selection, especially for high-end properties, customer selection, and then moving from there to retention, So how do you effectively do that?
Tony?
Yeah, it reminds me of the old days when I was working in Spain, and we had a big office. And as I mentioned earlier about the questionnaire, going through a questionnaire with a client, it was actually funny because there was a guy standing there one day, and he looked over at this client and he said, "He's a time waster. Time waster." And then the MD of the company pulled everybody to one side and they went, "Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to sack everybody. Everybody's sacked, and we're going to keep a hold of this guy because he can actually read people's minds. He actually knows whether he's a buyer before he even comes into the room. It's amazing. We'll make an absolute fortune if we take this mind reader on board." And that was the moral of the story. So you never know who's going to buy until you go through your own process. And that's why every client is the same, but you've got to be able to, and if you close the smallest deals and give it the same attention as your big deals, it's all about conversion. You've got to convert every single client that you meet, if that helps.
Tony, we're going to take one last question and it's a wrap, and then we go to lunch. Michael, I believe that was you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Udo. Thank you, everyone. So my questions would be, I have 2 questions. Udo, Tim, and Tony, anyone can please jump on it. So for a startup, and Udo, I think you would understand, with very limited resources. So we may not be privileged to take our clients on boat cruises and to some fancy places to entice them, because we are running with a very low budget, right? So what are, will I say, quick wins or quick strategies we can use to get immediate results in the short term, while we are also looking at deploying some of the medium to long-term strategies to sustain ourselves in the business? That will be my first question. Then the second question is, what are also very practicable strategies to connect with diaspora markets? That is, people outside the country, in different parts of the country. Are there relevant bodies we need to join, to associate with, or so on, and so on and so forth? I hope I was able to go straight to the point. Thank you.
Okay. This is more my area because I do lots of transactions, and I actually put this on LinkedIn, and I've got 25,000 people on LinkedIn. And I think if I look at the buyers, if I take it from the buyer side first, when you ask the question, do you want old or new? That goes through to the chase a lot quicker, because when you're actually selling new, it's a quick transaction. And then secondly, you're down into payment terms, and you're down into completion dates, and you're down into what's going to happen on that off-plan property at the end. When it goes back to the developer side, for Michael, then I think to actually sell, transactions a lot quicker and low cost, basic cost, you've got to find a trusted partner that's going to be a specialist and actually selling off-plan investments. Now, off-plan investments comes through also, which foreign country are very good at, it comes through from your marketing standpoint. It's not just what comes out of your mouth, because unfortunately, that's too late. You know, it's got to come from the marketing, and it's got to come from the fact of the nice CGIs, the nice pictures, the nice terms, and everybody wants a special offer. You know, but don't disregard the special offer. So for the first 3 properties, then we're going to throw it in the furniture pack, or we're going to do something slightly different. And then we were saying now that transactions are happening a lot quicker. Because fortunately for me, I was in IT before I was in property, but boy, oh boy, my children are in IT now. And also the linguists that speak Spanish and French. And they play on the computers and they think I'm actually an old boy when it comes to IT. Because they can actually just look on the internet and come up with a decision very quick. And they know very quickly what exactly the marketplace is, you know, who the client is, where the transaction is. And I think realistically, the last point of that question from the developer is, yes, you are an expert in your own area, but, you know, the world is getting smaller. It's becoming a lot smaller. The amount of people I actually sold was to Nigerian clients in Dubai, they bought a lot in Dubai. And then logically, you've got to see where your client flow is going to come from, which country is going to come from. Is it going to come from Africa as a continent? You know, is it going to come from other parts of Africa, or is it going to come from people flying in? Or if it's an investment transaction, do people even need to go there at all? They just want to see the return on investment, you know, pretty quickly. And that's going to come through in the marketing material, and then it comes into that same sales presentation, because the sales presentation is exactly the same as the marketing material. And I put this on LinkedIn because I feel that real estate people don't cut to the chase quick enough and ask the right questions.
I think we've gotten excellent value from this power duo. And I want to say on behalf of everyone, thank you so much. And those of you who asked questions, thank you for enriching this conversation. I'm going to just give Tim and Toni just an opportunity to say goodbye, final words.
Goodbye.
I guess we want to go to lunch, so
yes, thank you again. I'm sorry about the slow start from my point of view. I think it was a glitch. There you are. But thank you all, and have a great day, and speak to you soon, Udo.